Thank you for joining us today on Points of Interest, our new segment on topics of importance in the city of Mount Rainier. I'm Jeanelle Wallace, the city manager, and my guest today is Zunilda Rodriguez, planner coordinator with the Prince George's County Planning Department of Maryland National Capital Park and Planning Commission. That is a mouthful. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me here today. I'm really excited to be here.
Good. We're going to talk about the Architectural Conservation Plan and the Architectural Conservation Overlay Zone that the City of Mount Rainier asked Maryland National Capital Park and Planning Commission to develop for us. So that's a long title. So I guess first we need to talk about the plan, what that actually is going to do, and give our residents some areas that they can research on our website and the county's website that's going to give them more information. But let's kind of talk about, first of all, what the Architectural Conservation Plan will do and why that's important for the City of Mount Rainier.
Okay, well, thank you. The Architectural Conservation Plan is part of Architectural Conservation District and Architectural Conservation Overlay Zone with the Prince George's County. So the City of Mount Rainier requested that an Architectural Conservation Zone be developed specifically for the city. In order to do that, we need to first create an architectural plan that will help guide efforts within an architectural conservation district within that zone. The areas that we're looking at here in the city of Mount Rainier are all in the single family zone districts. So it will not take a look at any commercial zone districts or the MUTC zone districts, solely the single family residential zone districts, which makes up the majority of the city of Mount Rainier, as you know. The architectural plan, the purpose of that is to help provide guidance on the context-sensitive development and infill renovations and additions that will occur in the city of Mount Rainier in the future. As you know, the city of Mount Rainier is a historic district. We want to preserve the history and the character, particularly of homes that are within the single-family zone districts. In order to do that, we want to develop an architectural plan to provide us guidance in order to do that. Guidance not only for residents that might be thinking about infill development, renovations, or redevelopment, but also developers and contractors that will be looking at places to develop here in Mount Rainier. So with that, we want to make sure that we can develop a plan in cooperation with the City of Mount Rainier, its residents, and multiple stakeholders that will be involved in this almost year-long effort. We started the project in the spring of 2014, and it will go through the summer of 2015. So we have a fairly condensed project schedule, but we're really looking to get a lot of input and cooperation and discussion actively within the community itself. One of the first steps in order to do that is that we have hired a consultant to assist us with that. The name of the consultant is Cunningham Quillen Architects. They're assisting the planning department in Prince George's County along with the city of Mount Rainier on this effort. They have a very specialized and highly coordinated team of architects, planners, historic preservationists, and designers who are going to help us as well as the city develop this architectural plan so that we can make sure that development in the future, whether it be infill, redevelopment, or even something as an addition on someone's home, can be done in a very context-sensitive way, both in the style, the height, the types of materials that are used, for example.
And I think we should mention here that the consultant team is the same team that worked on and designed our mixed-use town center plan, which is primarily for commercial properties. And so this plan, tell us how that's going to help our residents. In other words, if I'm a homeowner and I have come to Mount Rainier and I've recently purchased a home, or even if I'm a long-standing resident, but I want to make some significant additions to our home. And let's say I want to add, I currently have a bungalow or one-story property, and I want to add an upper story to the house, and then I might want to extend the rear of the property. What will this plan, how does that affect me as a homeowner in terms of what I want to do? What's going to, do you know now what the process is going to be in terms of that?
Well, as we develop the plan, we're going to be seeking a lot of input from residents, developers, consultants, and even city staff about what that process should be and how it should be oversaw. One of the things that is a part of an architectural conservation district is the opportunity to have an advisory committee that helps oversee a review of applications that come in under properties that are within the architectural conservation district. This architectural plan will provide guidance to the homeowner, for example, in certain scenarios, whether, for example, as you mentioned, for an addition, it'll give them guidance as to not only the type of addition that would be compatible in a particular neighborhood based off of the style, but it also will give them guidance on things such as materials, height, whether in fact there are particular characteristics that they need to be aware of in putting the addition. So it'll provide almost like a blueprint opportunity to give people details prior to even starting a project or thinking about a project, whether it be as small as an addition or as large as a new infill home, for example, in a neighborhood where you might have a vacant lot and you're thinking about purchasing it and putting a new home where, maybe one vacant lot out of, a very filled-in street. So this plan particularly will give a lot of guidance to developers and also to homeowners in order to do that. So whether you're thinking about height issues or the style of the home that you're thinking about, or whether you're looking at what type of materials I should use, those are all the types of details that will be found in the architectural plan. Another thing that's going to accompany the plan itself in terms of kind of a more regulatory information will also be a visual pattern book. A pattern book is
great.
A pattern book is actually a really cool thing that we're going to develop to kind of be sort of like a manual that will give a visual interpretation of the guidelines. So for example, if it says, that the height should be X amount on this particular street or in this particular area, it will give you guidance to show how the height is in relationship to other homes on that street. So it'll be a really nice visual how-to manual for residents and staff and others to take a look at as they're reviewing the actual architectural plan guidelines, so that there's no ambiguity as to what did they say in the plan and what do I now have to do. They'll give you visual pictures and diagrams and renderings to kind of help you really interpret the information that's in the plan easier.
And some of the styles that will be depicted in this plan, we're going to make an attempt to, while we're doing this interview, when this is actually aired, to show some of those styles around the country that we're looking for. Now, my understanding is that this architectural conservation plan and the architectural conservation overlay zone is really designed to preserve, in a nutshell, to preserve the characteristics of the historic districts in Mount Rainier. So like you said, so that they'll be in line, any new additions or any changes in design, windows, doors, whatever, will be in compliance, and it'll preserve the character of what's currently existing. So will the plan help someone who comes in and they have a property or a current resident, and they may not be particularly happy with the current design of their window and door? They can make some changes, but the pattern book will show them the types of changes that they can incorporate on their property.
It will definitely provide a series of options. And so we really like to think of the pattern book as almost a palette where you can look at different options and try to customize it based off of your interests, based off of what you want to do on the property, but also more importantly, based off of your budget. Exactly. So we want to make sure that any recommendations that we're offering really shows a broad range, whether it be on the low end to the high end, because we recognize that not everyone's budget is going to accommodate really expensive materials or designs. But at the same time, we want to encourage and make sure that if you are thinking about doing changes onto the property, that they be done in a sensitive way, that it be somewhat compatible to surrounding neighborhoods and surrounding properties. And so that, you hit it right on the mark there. It's really an opportunity to preserve the character, not only the historic character in Mount Rainier, but also the architectural character. There's a lot of beauty in the neighborhoods here. For example, Mount Rainier, as someone told me the other day, is almost like a city of porches. And this truly is the case. We want to preserve that characteristic of porches, of certain types of window styles, height styles, certain types of homes, whether they be bungalows or others. So we want to make sure that we capture that. And in order to do that, one of the first steps that we're going to be embarking on soon is to develop an architectural survey of the city. This is something that we're doing through cooperation and consultation with our consultant team. Our consultant team will be going out in the next few weeks through the end of the year to go out into the single-family residential neighborhoods in Mount Rainier. You're going to see them out there. They're going to have their nice t-shirts kind of notifying who they are, but they're also going to have with them on hand a letter as well as a flyer describing what the architectural survey is meant to do. What they're going to be doing is they're going to be canvassing the single-family residential neighborhoods, going one by one on the public streets and on the public sidewalks to take a look at documenting information about the homes in Mount Rainier. What types of things are they going to be documenting? They're going to be documenting things like the heights. They're going to be documenting additions, garages, the types of architectural styles that are shown there. They're going to be really trying to do two things when they're out there. One is they want to document what's out there so that they can update the inventory of historic homes that are in Mount Rainier. As you know, over 25 years ago, we went and did this. We went out to the city of Mount Rainier and we canvassed the community and we tried to identify all the historic properties in Mount Rainier. Well, this will give us an opportunity to do that again, but also update the information from 25 years ago. You know, are they still available, many of these properties? Are they gone? Have there been changes and modifications? So this architectural survey will allow us to create an updated inventory of the historic properties in Mount Rainier. But at the same time, it will also allow us an opportunity to document what types of architectural styles are we seeing here. Are we seeing a lot of porches? If so, what types? Where are they located? Things like that are things that we're going to be taking a look at. Obviously, the consultants would be out on the public sidewalk, on the public streets. They will not be on private property. They will be taking pictures, however, so people should note that. If they have any questions or concerns about this project or even the architectural survey, I always encourage people to reach out to me as the project manager on this effort. I can be reached at 301-780-2233.
Let's repeat that number for our viewing audience.
It's 301-780-2233.
And can they also email you about any questions that they have?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I'm going to spell my name.
Okay.
It's Z like zebra, UNILDA RODRIGUEZ @PPD.MNCPPC.org.
And that's a very long email.
It's a long
But
email.
They can call me and get your email,
Absolutely.
your phone number, your email address.
People
and
are
your
certainly
phone number.
encouraged to call
Yeah.
the city to contact me as well. Another great way to reach me and even to get even more information about the project is go onto our project website. It's really simple title. It's
Yeah, I like it.
and web link. It's
like it.
www.pgplanning.org/MRACOZ
Which
.HTM.
Which looks like
Mr.
ACOZ.
That's right, Mr. ACOZ. So you just want to go to pgplanning.org/Mr. ACOZ.HTM. Or if you just Google Architectural Conservation Plan in Prince George's County, you'll see our website will pop up in the Google search engine.
And I think we also have a link on our website.
That is correct.
The city's website, www.mountrainiermd.org. We have a link on there. You can also go in the search box, on the search tool, and just type ACOZ, and that will also give you a direct link into you all's website. I think we've also given out some preliminary information to our residents that pictures will be taken, but I'm sure we're going to get some calls that people have missed it. We're also going to put some information, if we haven't already, in our newsletter, the message. But in case people have missed all of that, I'm sure they'll see people and might give us a call and say, what's going on? I saw, people out taking pictures, and, hopefully they'll see the identification on their t-shirts or whatever, and depending on how cold it is, they may not have that on their overcoats or whatever, but we will forward that information, to you. Let's talk a little bit about what the Architectural Conservation Overlay Zone will do in terms of development activity and how that affects well, I know we're talking primarily about residential property, but how will that affect any developers that are coming in here building new homes, or how does that affect a property owner, a residential property owner?
Well, once the plan is adopted and the zone is put into place with the city of Mount Rainier, what will happen is any property that's within that, under that zone, which would be all the single family residential zone, it's sort of like an overlay. So you have sort of these residential zone, and the architecture conservation overlay zone is kind of imposed on top of that. And what happens is that zone is attached to certain things you have to do. That's where the plan comes into place. So if you're in this overlay zone for the architectural conservation district, you will have to do certain things based off of the architectural plan that accompanies that zone. Okay. And so it will give them guidance as to exactly what it is they need to do, what is the review process, how do they go about doing permits, etc. We're going to try to create a very user-friendly document, something that's very easy to read, something that's very simple, from someone who's just maybe just seeking some basic information to do maybe a contracting job, or someone who's doing a very large development in one of the residential districts that are underlying the architectural conservation zone. So the zone is an opportunity to create more regulatory oversight. But the plan is really where the applicant, whether they be a developer or a homeowner, is going to get the guidance that they need to develop their property.
So let's talk just a little bit about zones, and for people that don't understand it, when you talk about the architectural conservation zone being imposed, or it impacts somewhat the layers that are already there. These zones we're talking about, like traditional residential neighborhoods, the R55, which is single family homes, because in some districts you can't have multifamily apartment complexes. You can only have single family. You can't have townhouses. So this, for some people, they might think, well, why do we need another layer? Why would we have another zone or plan over top of what's already existing?
Well, the purpose is really to provide an opportunity to preserve the characteristics that are important to the city of Mount Rainier. Zoning can only dictate kind of the use, whether it's a residential property or a commercial property or industrial property, but you really need a plan to give you guidelines as to how do you shape that once you got that use. So, for example, in the single family residential districts, you have the ability to obviously build a single family home, but it doesn't give you the guidance that you need to state what type of windows, whether it should have a porch, what should be the heights, whether there should be some restrictions or maybe things that you need to do to expand onto your property. So it doesn't give you that form of guidance. So that's why we need the plan, because we want to make sure that we preserve the things that are important to the city and to the residents and to those who develop here. Because as you know, when you have a single family neighborhood and you have maybe a vacant lot, or maybe you have a home that's not in the best upkeep, people can design it all sorts of different ways, and sometimes it doesn't match what's exactly in the area now. And so this will be a great opportunity to make sure that anything coming in really is very sensitive and really takes into account what's happening around it. Because as you know, we never plan in a vacuum. We always try to plan around what's already existing. And this is really the goal ultimately of the plan, is an opportunity to provide options to people to design things that are compatible and that are sensitive to what's already there. So that in 20 years, that you go down the street, or you walk down the street, or drive down the street, that you can understand that these homes took care, and how they not only maintained their homes, but how they redeveloped or developed.
And I would think that that also should assist with existing properties in terms of preserving the value of their property, as opposed to devaluing it.
Absolutely. And one of the things we often find in these architectural conservation districts around the country is that they do really point out and enhance the value of what's already there, because it gives people ideas to enhance portions of their property that they may never have considered, or maybe didn't have guidance on how to do it properly. And so it can really serve as a great tool to enhance the value and the architectural characteristics of a neighborhood.
Okay, was there any other points that you would like to bring up that you think our residents should know about?
Well, I definitely encourage people to check out our website. We have an opportunity. You have an opportunity to sign up for announcements and information. We will be trying to schedule community meetings. We plan to have at least 3 regarding this project. The first one will probably be either late this year in December or early January of 2015. So we'll make sure to stay in communications with the city and its residents about those community meetings. And we highly encourage the public to be involved. You don't have to come to a meeting in order to provide input. There's multiple ways to do that. Certainly, please reach out to me. We have an entire team of planning staff that's very dedicated to this project, and we really are working in coordination with the city to really make sure that we provide a lot of opportunities for public involvement, and that's really important to us. And so we highly, highly encourage residents to begin to have a better understanding of this project and its impacts, but really, we need your input. We need to know, what do you value? What do you want us to take a look at? What are things that are important to you? What are the characteristics you want to preserve? If we don't know that, it's more difficult for us to plan it correctly. So public input and cooperation and participation is so important. And I just want to just truly stress that to all those who are watching.
I think a couple other points. One is that even though the city asked the Maryland National Capital Park and Planning Commission to develop this plan for us, the goal is that it not be overly restrictive for a homeowner or a current or future developer. And also encourage people to respond to the survey. I think it's both on your website.
Well, the survey will be an opportunity for our consultant team to come out and canvass the neighborhoods and take pictures. So there won't be an opportunity necessarily for
text or verbal.
Correct. But we certainly will encourage people as part of our public community meetings to provide us input. There will be a lot of hands-on activities with that. And so that will be a great way for the public to get involved. But also, if you have comments or issues that you want us to explore, please contact me, send us a note through our website, give me a call, send me an email. We certainly will be happy to do that. We're also working very closely with a number of city committees, as you know, the Design Review Committee, the MUTC Committee, the Tree Commission, and the Green Team. And so we plan to keep them abreast of this project, and they will be invited into all of our community meetings. And so if you're a part of those, or if you know someone who's a part of those, that's another great way to find an avenue of information. But certainly don't hesitate to contact me at any time.
And I hope you'll be willing to come back. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on Points of Interest. Look forward to future segments on this show.
Thank you.
Thank you.